Hey guys, welcome back to another Ferrari Formula One Evolution video, illustrated with 1/18 scale models. This is the 2003 Ferrari F2003-GA, made by Hot Wheels. This is actually the first diecast car that I ever bought, and I applied the tobacco liveries myself. The GA stood for Gianni Agnelli, who was the head of Fiat and had recently passed away. Driver lineup stayed the same, with defending champion Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. After a record-breaking 2002 season, 3 Drivers' Championships, and 4 straight Constructors' Championships, the FIA made some changes to the 2003 season, which many believe was a tactic to try and shake things up and stop the Ferrari domination. The first change was to go to single-lap qualifying, which was a little confusing, but the way it worked was on Fridays, the drivers would go out in order of championship standings and set a single provisional qualifying lap. And then on Saturdays, which was real qualifying, they would go out in order of the fastest time from Friday's provisional qualifying. Furthermore, during Saturday's qualifying, the cars had to be ran with their starting fuel levels, and then the cars were sent into Parc Fermé, where the teams could not make any setup changes or add fuel to the cars between qualifying and a race. Now, this absolutely did shake up the starting grids, and honestly, it made for some exciting qualifying days. However, there was an element of unfairness, as the format did penalize the best teams. First of all, track conditions are typically best at the very end of a session, so every car will want to go out last. For the championship leader to have to go out first on Friday's provisional qualifying meant they typically had the worst track conditions. The track condition variable would also affect Saturday's qualifying, particularly in changing weather conditions. Lastly, the cars qualifying on different fuel loads, it wasn't always an even comparison between the teams, and it makes it extremely difficult to gauge the performance delta against the 2002 cars. The final big change to 2003 was changing the point system, where now the 8th place finisher would attain a point compared to 6th place in 2002. Now that we got through the rules, let's talk about the car. The F2003-GA is one of those cars that was better than it performed, but perhaps was not as good as some may think. Ferrari did some pretty huge improvements over the F2002, and at the time Ferrari claimed the F2003-GA was one of the biggest steps forward they have ever made. I remember Rubens Barrichello praising the power of the F2003-GA, which was now making somewhere around 910 horsepower and getting close to 19,000 RPM. The front wing was very similar to the F2002, with only some slight changes to the profile of the upper element. These slight changes would vary from race to race and track to track. The car now featured a dual barge board setup. This was to allow for better control of the outwash past the first barge board and then control the airflow around the newly sculpted side pods. The side pods were without question the biggest change over the F2002. Ferrari came out with the revolutionary undercut design, which every team would go on to copy over the next 2 years. The benefit being the airflow could better travel down the side of the car, which would create a greater pressure differential on the floor and improve the efficiency of the rear diffuser. Additionally, the side pods were extremely low, which was made possible by smaller sloped radiators. To maintain cooling, Ferrari had these shark-like gills behind the radiators to extract the energized hot air. Ferrari also kept the engine cover as small as possible to allow for as much clean air to hit the rear wing. I think it's important to note the F2003-GA had an increased wheelbase. This had some aerodynamic advantages, but it seemed to have some disadvantages with mechanical grip and overall agility. Tracks like Monaco and maybe the Nürburgring were not ideal, whereas the car was much more suited to high-speed tracks like Silverstone or Monza. The rear wing was again a 3-element design, which is mainly a refinement over 2002. The rear diffuser started to see some increased complexity. It's hard to say how much better the diffuser was, but I think Ferrari came up with some ideas that really laid the path for the next year's car. So was the F2003-GA as good as Ferrari claimed? Well, in the right conditions, I would say yes. I think it's clear Michelin made a bigger step forward than Bridgestone and performed better in hotter conditions. This can be verified by other teams on Bridgestone struggling in the same conditions. There is also the tire scandal, where Ferrari protested to the FIA about Michelin's usable tread width, which was found to be 286 millimeters, 16 millimeters outside the legal width. The FIA forced Michelin to construct new tires before the final 3 races, all of which Ferrari won. A lot of people say Ferrari stole the championship, but not only do I think it was a reasonable protest, I think the weather conditions changed back in favor of Ferrari. In the extreme hot weather, I think the F2003-GA's cooling perhaps couldn't quite cope, and Ferrari's performance drop was more significant. Finishing in cooler conditions allowed the GA to once again be the best car. Now, the Ferrari started the 2003 season with the F2002B, but just looking at the F2003-GA's performance, you can see over the course of the season it averaged out to be slightly faster than the Williams FW25. More importantly, you can see in Germany and Hungary, which were the two hottest races, just how much Ferrari was down in performance. But the car was still good enough to help Ferrari once again win both Drivers' and Constructors' Championships despite the successful shakeup caused by the rule changes. So the F2003-GA was a great car that fell into a series of conditions and frankly better competition that made for a fantastic championship season. But Ferrari believed in what the F2003-GA was capable of, and it took that philosophy and evolved it into the incredible F2004. If you guys liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more videos, and thanks for watching.